this session from C3A's Facebook page or NSA Virtual Roadshow. Thank you for tuning in to today's session on nutrition. My name is Christabelle and I'm one of the active health coach with SWOT Singapore. With me, I have my fellow coach Sharmila, who will be joining us in the session later on. This session is brought to you especially by SWOT Singapore as part of the National Silver Academy e-Nugget series. During the course of this session, if you have any questions regarding nutrition or from whatever you have shared, please type in the Facebook comments. Our moderator will help us to collate and we'll answer each one of them during the Q&A segment. How many of you have heard of active health before? Maybe not many, so let me just share briefly on who we are. Active Health is a social movement by SWOT Singapore under the umbrella of Active SG. We aim to empower individuals like you and myself to take ownership of our own health and wellness. How? We take on a holistic approach by targeting health in 4 main areas: your physical activity, your screen time, your nutrition, and sleep. So today, we'll be mainly focusing on nutrition, and as part of the session, we'll share with you some active health habits to help you eat more healthily during this period. Sharmila will come on later on and do an interesting activity with you for you to learn more in depth about nutrition. If you have a piece of paper, maybe not as big as mine, grab a piece of paper and a pen, or maybe you have another mobile device with you, grab it so that you can take down some notes. Are you ready to begin? Okay, let's go. Let me first give an introduction. Singapore is a well-recognized country as a food paradise. You can see on the slide maybe many local delicacies that you and I would love, right? So how many of you can identify food on the slide that you really love? I can see my favorite chili crab over there. So also, now that you are spending more time at home during circuit breaker, phase 1 and phase 2, do you find yourself eating more? Maybe you're snacking or you're watching TV, or just feeling bored and you just grab a pack of chips or make yourself a cup of coffee or tea. Well, 59% of Singaporeans overeat, and only 1 in every 10 Singaporeans consume enough fruits and vegetables every day. Do you know how much are we supposed to eat and what are we supposed to eat every day? Okay, if you have a piece of paper, grab it now and a pen. I want you to illustrate the recommendation by Health Promotion Board, the very first recommendation that you can think of. What will you draw on your piece of paper? What are the type of foods should you be eating and how much? Can you recall? So try it on your own before you take a look at my piece of paper. Okay, I'll give you a clue. It's in the shape of a triangle. Oops, sorry, parallax error. How many levels are there? Okay, I'll just give you 30 seconds. You can quickly scribble them down. I'll slowly reveal to you the accurate representation. Can you write down what food groups belong to each quadrant or each portion of this triangle? Okay, let me review. Do you get the food pyramid right? There are 4 levels. There are almost 5, or actually 4 food groups here. On top it says less sugar, salt, fat, and oils. Okay, don't worry if you didn't get it right because it is quite intricate. There's too many things to remember. That's why Health Promotion Board came up with My Healthy Plate in 2014. So over here you see on your slide as well as what I'm holding right now, this helps you to have an easier visual guide as to how much you should be putting into your plate, on your plate and into your body every single meal. Okay, if you can see and follow me on this My Healthy Plate, 1/4 of your plate over here should be filled with your brown rice and wholemeal bread. So it's your carbohydrates such as your rice, toast, and whole grains. So whole grains are recommended because of its higher fiber content. In Singapore, it's gaining more popularity right now, but majority of us still consume white carbohydrates. You have the other quarter. It should be containing your meat and others. On the slide, you see that your fish and your tofu are your recommended protein sources. Last but not least, you have half of your plate, which is consisting of fruits and vegetables. Okay, so not your rice. I know it's common to see half of your plate filled with rice. Okay, so this will help you to better manage your weight and your risk of chronic conditions. Can you just recall, now it's 2 p.m. I hope most of you had your lunch already. Can you recall the lunch that you had just now? How much does it resemble this healthy plate? From a scale of 0 to 10, can you recall? Can you rate yourself? It's okay if you didn't get 10. Maybe you got a 5. Maybe you got a 6. Just being conscious now that you know what is on your plate will help you to make better choices in your nutrition. So maybe for dinner or maybe for tomorrow's meal, try to aim for a higher rank, okay? Maybe for a 6 or 7, okay? So however, as we age, nutrition becomes a little bit harder because of 2 factors. 1, we tend to eat slower. 2, we tend to not have such a great appetite, okay? As such, we are unable to get sufficient calories and energy that contains the different nutrients that we need for daily functions. Also, for building and repair of our body tissues and obviously your muscles, as well as keep your bones strong and healthy. So besides using the healthy plate as a guide, we'd like to share with you some active health habits that you can adopt to improve your nutrition from today onwards. For example, habit number 1. Maybe now you'd like to take down some notes. Habit 1. I will keep unhealthy food choices away from my home and office space. This is very important because our environment will dictate your behavior. I just want you to look around. If you're sitting in your living room, what do you have displayed on your coffee table? Or maybe if you can look at your kitchen, what do you have on your kitchen top? I have with me, do you see something familiar? Maybe you see some snacks and biscuits like this. Or maybe even your 3-in-1 instant mix. So whenever you have such thing in reach, just like what I'm doing now, it is easier for you to just grab it, maybe make a cup of coffee or munch on your snack, even though you're already full, or even if you already had your coffee or your tea early in the morning. Okay, so the tip we want to share with you is out of sight, out of mind. Okay, hide them in the cupboards, hide them maybe somewhere else that are difficult to find, swap them with something healthier, such as your favorite fruits. This way, you'll be able to get 2 servings of fruits every day, or be more successful in doing so. All right. So in your next grocery run, remember to stock up on fresh fruits as well as vegetables so that you can consume them because they will perish. So make sure you have them ready for you in your kitchen or on your countertop so that you can consume your 2 servings of fruits and vegetables. In the middle of the day, maybe an hour later or after this session, around 3 to 4 p.m., it is common to feel hungry for no apparent reason. But I'd like to share with you one reason why you might be feeling hungry. The reason is because your body might actually be thirsty. So your dehydrated body is sending mixed signals to your brain and telling you that you're hungry. And that's when you go and grab your coffee, your chips, your snacks, your biscuits. So one way to solve that is drink a cup of water or have a fruit. For those of you who tend to overeat, okay, you tend to eat more than you know you should, One more tip is to drink a cup of water before your meal. Why? Because this will bloat your stomach, send signals to your brain and tell you that you are feeling full. So that way, it's less likely for you to overeat. Lastly, you can also put down your utensils as you chew your food thoroughly. Okay, catch the principle behind this habit. Okay, you don't really have to put down your utensils, but remember to chew slowly and be aware of what you're putting into your mouth. Right? As Singaporeans, we tend to be eating really quickly, or you might be watching TV while eating your meal, right? So we don't see what we're putting into your mouth. Sometimes after finishing your meal, you might even feel, I'm not full enough. Maybe I'll go and grab a drink. Maybe I'll grab a dessert. Or maybe is there some bread I can buy for tea break? Does that sound familiar to you? So that's how we tend to overeat, okay? On average, how long do you normally take to finish your meal? Maybe you just had lunch. Can you recall how long do you take to finish your lunch? 5 minutes? 10 minutes? 30 minutes? Okay, it takes at least 20 minutes for us to chew your food, swallow, digest, send signals to your brain that you are actually getting full. By the time you feel full, that could mean you have already overeaten. Just like if you've gone for a buffet, okay? If you're feeling full, it means you have overeaten. These are just some 4 simple active health habits that I have shared with you that you can adopt to improve your nutrition. Maybe not all may be helpful for you, but I want you to now think, perhaps there's one habit out here that you like to try it for yourself. We will release a Facebook poll right now. And if you can just kindly take a minute to think about your daily activities, your daily routine, your nutrition habits, which one will help you to eat more healthily or eat more mindfully? If you're attending this session with someone or you're not staying alone, choose the habit, do it together, because you'll be more successful when you are attempting to adopt a habit with support from your loved ones. I will just repeat the 4 habits so that you can take time to think about it. Habit number 1, I will keep unhealthy food choices away from my home and office space. Habit 2, I will drink a cup of water before every meal. Habit 3, I will put my utensils down while I chew my food thoroughly. And last one, habit 4, I will eat at least 2 servings of fruits and 2 servings of vegetables every day. All right, so take a minute, consider which habit will be helpful for you and your current lifestyle right now, and take a pick. Okay, so the results are in. I can see that majority of you says that you want to choose option 1. All right, it could be because you're all now at home, right? And it's a good time to take stock of what you have in your environment. Take a check whether it's going to be helpful or healthy for you. And if not, remember to take it away, share it with other people, or stock up on healthier options. Okay, so try it for this week. These are just suggested habits from us, but if you can think of other habits that you know you have to take in order to be healthier, please do so and get support from your loved ones. Okay, so this week, try it out. You have heard a lot from me, and now I'd like to invite my fellow coach Sharmila into this space because she's going to lead us into an activity to learn more about nutrition, and especially in the domain or in the topic of protein. So let's welcome Sharmila.
All right. Hi, everybody. Yes, I am Sharmila from Active Health, and I will be touching on the topic of protein. Okay, so Christabelle actually explained on a lot of fruits and vegetables, as well as hydration by drinking water and being more mindful when you're eating. I hope you're able to use these tips. Okay, I am actually going to start off with an activity for you on proteins. Okay, now what are proteins? Proteins are the building blocks that we need for our body. And we're going to do a small activity. Okay, I need you to write down on a piece of paper whatever protein you might have eaten today for lunch or breakfast or even yesterday. Okay, so I'm going to talk you through some of the protein sources that we have, but I'd like you to recall some of the protein you have had in your meal. Now, why am I asking you to recall? Because usually we stick to a few types of protein sources that we are comfortable with, right? So I want you to understand what are some of the protein choices that you always go to whenever you are eating, so that later on when I introduce to you different sources, you will be able to expand the amount of protein that you are taking in, as well as the type of proteins you are getting in your meals. Okay, so I'll just give you about 30 seconds to write down all the different types of proteins you have had. So if I can recall, this morning I drank a cup of milk. Yesterday I had some chicken for lunch. Oh, I had tofu soup. I also snacked on some peanut butter toast. So that's my protein. Okay, so likewise, I hope you are just noting down different types of proteins you have had in your meal. Okay, let me start off by explaining to you the two different types of proteins we normally have when we are going out to the supermarket to pick up protein sources. We have plant-based sources, things like your lentils, tofu, a very good source of calcium as well. We have things like your soybeans, your chickpeas, right? And also things like your nuts, your almond, your flax seeds, pumpkin seeds. These are also good sources of plant-based protein, right? And we also have animal sources of proteins, things like our lean meat, our chicken breast, things like fish that we do want you to try and include at least 2 times every week. Okay, the more oily fish you consume, the higher the amounts of omega-3 and 6 fatty acids you will also be consuming. These are good fats that we want in our body, right? Proteins give us essential amino acids, especially from the food we eat. We need 9 essential amino acids from different foods that we are consuming. Okay, and plant-based and animal-based sources actually help us with that. Okay, now why is protein so important, right? Why do we need to eat proteins daily? Okay, now they're important for overall health and well-being, just like Christabelle mentioned. Okay, if you want your nails to be strong, if you want your hair to be healthy, right? If you want to get all the repair and body tissues repaired, you need proteins, right? If you are trying to increase your bone density, you will also need to try and consume protein sources so that it prevents you from getting things like osteoporosis. Okay, if you are an exercising individual, proteins and protein sources also help you to maintain your muscle strength, right? After a bout of exercise, we do want you to consume things like chicken or fish, so that it can help with the repair and build-up processes that can help you to maintain your muscle strength. This is very important. As we start to age, we do start to experience muscle loss, right? And to prevent that from happening too quickly, we need to do resistance training, exercises, and also consume protein sources to build on our muscle mass and maintain muscle strength. Okay, and also protein sources help you because when you are moving about and doing your fundamental or your mobility exercises or just moving out and about, you do want to maintain your balance, your agility, as well as your resilience. Okay, now how much protein do we need for a day? Okay, now as individuals, we need at least about 0.8 gram to 1 gram per kg body weight of protein. Now, all of you must be thinking, what does that mean? Right? Okay, so if we take a simple measurement of 1 gram of protein per kilogram of body weight, and if we look at an individual who is 50 kilograms, that means this individual needs about 50 grams of protein on a daily basis. Okay, now, how then do we consume 50 grams for the whole day? How do I know how much proteins different food is giving me? Okay, so we're going to look into that shortly, all right, where your protein sources actually tell you what are some of the power protein sources to include in your diet. Okay, this will include things like your milk sources. Okay, so milk, a cup of milk gives you about 10 grams of protein itself. Your palm size of meat that you may have for your lunch and your dinner gives you about 20 to 25 grams depending on the different types of meat and protein sources. So if you are consuming one portion of meat at lunch and dinner and you had a cup of milk in the morning, that is already adding up to the 50 grams of protein you need for your daily need. Right. Now, let's say you have some trouble trying to eat so much protein at a particular meal. I'm going to share with you tips and tricks on how to boost your protein intake. Okay, eggs are a wonderful source of protein and they are also versatile. Okay, you can have hard-boiled egg or a snack. You can have your scrambled egg or your half-boiled egg on toast for your breakfast. You can even include eggs in soup and stews. You can also have egg on toast, okay, whenever you are feeling hungry, right? So that is one way to incorporate eggs, okay? And eggs actually give us 6 grams of protein. Yeah, so you can try and include an egg every day to boost your protein intake. You can also snack on things like yogurt. Okay, there are some yogurt that is very suitable for those of you who are lactose intolerant. So if you feel like milk is not something that you are so used to because it stirs your stomach, then yes, opt for yogurt, right? Yogurt, a tub of yogurt gives you around 15 grams, and that's going to actually help boost your intake. And don't just eat the yogurt alone. Try and incorporate things like your fruits to fill up your stomach so that you also get that fiber in. Try and add in some nuts. Remember, nuts are also high protein sources if you choose the right nuts, but because they also contain good fats, we want to consume them in moderation. But adding nuts is also a good idea. Okay, so while you are having your half-boiled egg for breakfast, you can also enjoy some nut butters like your peanut butter toast alongside that so that you boost your protein intake at a particular meal. Now, what happens if you feel like, you're having chewing issues, you're not able to consume 1 palm size of protein at meal times? What happens then? Well, try and at least minimally consume a matchbox size of protein at meal times and opt for softer protein sources. Okay, things like your minced meat, minced chicken or minced fish, that can help you better when you have chewing issues. Also things like tofu, because they're so soft. You have your silken tofu that is very soft, that just melts in your mouth almost when you have it with soup-based dishes. Those are things that you can also incorporate. Okay, beans, chickpeas, these are also good to have. You can add them to your salad. You can snack on them. You can blend them up with some olive oil and use them as a spread if you're not so keen on peanut butter all the time. Okay, so these are some tips and tricks that you can use to boost up your protein intake. Okay, yeah, so that's about it from me today. I'm going to invite Christabelle back and we're going to start on our question and answer session. All right, let's welcome Christabelle.
Okay, thank you, Sharmila, for helping us to better understand the goodness of wholesome protein from our food sources. So I've learned a lot, like what tips and tricks to, if I don't like to eat this, what can I opt for? Maybe some of you still have some questions, right? And we'd like to give you some time to type down the question that you have in mind so that maybe Sharmila and myself can better clarify and maybe share even more tips, right? So we have shared a lot today. Maybe we can just take 1 minute, consolidate everything that you have learned, and just think, is there any question, anything that is not clear, or you have a question for your friend you'd like to ask, type it in the comment section. All right, we're gonna answer them very shortly. So, all right, type it in. All right, Sharmila, I see the question coming in already. So the comment section is quite lively. You can see the first question. Drinking water before meal will bloat up the stomach. I think the question is that true?
Okay. So thank you so much for your question on whether drinking water before the meal actually bloats you up. So no, it doesn't bloat up the stomach. What it does is it does take up space. All right. And when we say take up space, it's actually filling up the stomach a little bit, but at the same time, it's stopping you from overeating at meal times. That's what it does when you're actually consuming water. Now, be mindful of how much you are drinking as well. Okay, so normally we recommend 1 cup of water before meals, just for this, so that it can fill you up a little bit and not cause any form of bloating or filling it up too much. Okay, so I hope that clarifies your question, Jenny.
That this tip or this habit is actually meant for those who tend to overeat, right? Because you're trying to eat lesser, and that's why you're filling up your stomach cavity with water or other fluids. So if you recognize that you are eating slower, you're not eating enough, then maybe this habit is not for you.
Yeah. Okay, or you can hydrate yourself after the meal.
Yes.
Okay, or throughout the day.
Yep. Okay, let's go to the next question. Any difference taking more fruits than vegetables? Maybe instead of two, I'll take 3 servings of fruits and only 1 serving of vegetable a day. What do you think?
Okay. Thank you, Li Chu, for that question. All right. So, the reason why we want to consume both fruits and vegetables is because we want to include a variety in our meals, as well as because fruits and vegetables provide different vitamins and different minerals into our diet. All right. If you have difficulty chewing on fruits, then what you can do is opt for softer fruits. There can be different varieties like papaya, dragon fruit, kiwi. Okay, all these are soft fruits, watermelon even, right? That you can consume in addition to your vegetables. Okay, now, Christabelle, can I just build on this for a moment? Did you know that there are actually a rainbow of vegetables and fruits that we need to consume?
Yeah, I think I know.
Okay, so some of you may have heard about this, right? Eat a rainbow of fruits and vegetables. Now, do you know why they say that?
I mean, like what you mentioned just now, because the different colors provide different minerals and vitamins.
Very good. Okay, so yes, try and include different colored fruits and vegetables into your diet, and don't just stick to the same typical, green vegetables or same type of fruits throughout the week. Okay, so try and reach for a variety. If let's say you're having green leafy vegetables at your meal times, then opt for a colorful fruit, say an orange or a brightly colored watermelon or dragon fruit, so that you add antioxidants as well as different vitamins and minerals to help you boost your immunity as well.
Yep. So I think we have a lot of time now on our hand, right? So you can go for your next grocery run. Don't just go in there, grab everything you need. Maybe just walk around, take a note on what other colored fruits and vegetables you can find there, and then you can incorporate into your diet next time.
Yeah, maybe you can pick out 2 fruits or 2 vegetables that you're not so used to eating, and then find a new recipe to try out.
Yeah. Oh, there's a challenge from Coach Sharmila today. So next grocery run, try to find 2 fruit, 2 vegetables, okay, or even just 1 each, right? And then attempt a new recipe. Okay, the third question, right? I heard eating fruits before meal is good. Any comments?
Okay, so Siubun, thank you for that question. Now, fruits contain fiber and they help to fill up our stomach, okay? And there's always this debate that comes up, right? Are fruits best eaten before or after the meal? Okay, now there's no best time for you to have your fruits. You can have your fruits half an hour before the meal if you are trying to fill up your stomach with fiber, so that again it stops you from overeating during that meal time itself. Or if you feel very hungry and you do want to get your meal down into your body first, let's say you've just done a workout and you want to have your meal first to fuel yourself, yes, you can, and then wait for some time before having your dessert as a snack. Your fruits as a dessert or snack. Okay, that means you can have your fruits half an hour to 45 minutes after your meal. Okay, so there's no best time to have your fruits, before or after, doesn't really matter in terms of the nutritional content and fiber that you're getting into your system.
I think it's just very Asian, right? That we eat our fruits after dinner.
Yeah, correct. Okay, and some people feel like it has to be together with the meal, but it doesn't really have to be that way. Okay, if you are used to having your fruits with your meal to fill up your stomach, that's still fine. You can also have your meal and then wait it up and have your fruits for snack later.
And one more point that you said, so before you exercise, maybe you're feeling hungry, a fruit is a very good option, right? So like maybe a banana.
Yeah, okay, a banana is a good fuel source. It provides you with the carbohydrates you need to boost you for the exercise that you're going to be doing later on.
Right. So the next question, I'll just quickly answer that because actually Sharmila went through that. So the question was, what is a good portion of protein intake per day in accordance to age? So just to make it easier, you can just take 1 gram per kilo body mass. Am I right?
Yes.
So if you're 50 kg, okay, I'm not 50, but if you're 50 kilo, you should get 50 gram of protein.
Yes.
Right, and then if you want to break it down into maybe 3 meals, that is about 16-17 grams per meal. Yeah. And so like what Sharmila shared just now, like a palm size of meat or poultry is around 16-17 grams already, right? So that is how you can get easily for that meal. And then you add it up, should bring you about 50 grams. And she also shared other tips like, okay, maybe a cup of milk is around 10 grams. Yeah. Some nuts and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, okay, things like your egg is 6 grams. Take note, there are age requirements, but we're talking about adults. So 1 gram of protein per kilogram of body weight. Okay, I also see another question that has come up with regards to this. It is, are there plant-based proteins if I don't eat meat? Okay, so yes, for vegetarians out there, I know some of you are consuming things like your lentils, your dal, your chickpeas. All these are plant-based sources, even things like your tofu, your soy products, okay? Just make sure for soy products, if you are looking at calcium intake as well, make sure that they are high calcium sources, okay? So for example, if you are reaching out for a soy milk, make sure that it is a high calcium soy milk, okay? Because naturally, soy milk doesn't contain as much calcium. Okay, so that's something that you can look into. Nuts are also another source of protein, but just make sure you are eating nuts in moderation because of the fat content. Okay.
The question there, what is a daily portion that you recommend for nuts? So what we usually say is maybe 1 handful a day.
Yeah,
but
10 to 15.
10 to 15. Okay, but it doesn't mean 1 handful of like peanut, 1 handful of pistachio, 1 handful of what else? Almonds.
Yeah, okay, just one type, or even if you have mixed nuts, just keep to a handful for your snack each time you are having it. If let's say you're using it for spread on bread, okay, for your toast, we try and keep it to about 1 tablespoon. Okay, all right.
So the number, if you really are particular about numbers, around 10 to 15, but different, it depends on the size of your nut.
Oh yes, and also the size of your hand.
Okay, so let's look at two questions on egg.
Egg protein is from egg white only. How about egg
So
yolk?
does the egg protein come from only the egg white? How about the egg yolk? Does it contribute to protein? And for those with high cholesterol level, should they be taking egg daily?
Okay, so thank you for your question. Well, yes, there has always been a debate, on the cholesterol content of eggs. Okay, so our recommendation to you is 1 egg every day, and try not to have more than 4 to 5 eggs per week. If you are having more than 4 to 5 eggs, then yes, keep to only the egg whites. You can remove the egg yolk. Okay, and when I say 6 grams of protein per egg, we are looking at a whole egg. Okay, so it does include the egg whites and the egg yolk. However, if you are removing the egg yolks for health purposes, then don't worry, you are still getting the essential amino acids that you need from the egg white itself. Okay, so there are some people who may have health conditions and who may need to consume more than 1 egg white per day for some medical purposes. And because their dietitians have actually requested for them to do it, then yes, do follow that recommendation, because the general guideline is that you have about 4 to 5 whole eggs a week, and anything more, we're just keeping it to egg whites. Okay, so I hope that helps you with your question.
I think there's one question on fruits. We kind of already talked about that, right? So
Yes.
doesn't really matter when you eat your fruit, but depending on what is your purpose of eating that fruit, right? I mean, is it to help you to reduce your portion size at meals, or is it more of like taking that that 2 serving of fruit, that antioxidants, your vitamins, your minerals in? So let's go to just the other question, which how many types of colored vegetables should we aim for?
Okay, so how many colors are there in the rainbow? Is the number of colored vegetables that you should aim for.
Maybe we should do like some challenge, like I name a fruit and I'm sure you win. But let's just try.
Okay, let's do this. Let's do white vegetables.
But the rainbow has some white. Okay.
Well, there are white vegetables that we eat.
Okay.
We do need to include.
Okay, I'll start. White cabbage.
Okay, and there's cauliflower
Radish.
and turnip. Okay, so very good. So we have already given you 4 different white colored vegetables.
How about mixed color?
Let's go from the rainbow. So red.
I'll go with my capsicum.
Okay, tomatoes.
Are we just doing vegetables?
Yes.
Tomato a fruit. Okay. So vegetables, red vegetables.
Okay, things like your chili, right? A lot of you do like spicy food, so chili. Okay, that can be a red. And then things like your brightly colored yellow and orange vegetables. Come on, this is easy.
Bright and yellow.
Yes.
I mean,
Your carrot, your corn,
your pumpkin.
yeah, your squash.
Yes.
Okay, all these are brightly colored. They give you good vitamin C content. And then, of course, without saying, our green leafy vegetables.
Yes.
And not forgetting our purple vegetables. Yes, okay, they give us a lot of anthocyanins that is important, and antioxidant to help prevent things like your cancer. So those come from things like your purple cabbage. What else?
Purple dragon fruit.
Purple brinjal. Okay, so these are vegetables that you can include. So I hope you have gotten different types of vegetables that you can look out for when you go for your next grocery run.
All right, let's go to the next question on rice.
Yep.
If I'm not wrong. The question is, can I leave out rice in my meals and just take protein, fruits, and vegetables?
Okay. Thank you for that question. Well, we do not want to exclude a particular food group completely from our meals, and we do not want to put a bad light on things like carbohydrates, which we get from rice. Okay, that is the reason why the Health Promotion Board recommendation allows you to incorporate things like whole grains that actually do a lot more good in our body. Okay, and carbohydrates are also our basic fuel source.
Yep.
So we do need to have some amount of carbohydrates in our meals. Now, you do not only get carbohydrates from rice, so I hope to establish that point. Incorporating whole grains, okay, things like wholemeal bread, things like your brown rice noodles, your vermicelli, your yellow noodles. Now there are a lot of different varieties in the market that you can look for and include. Okay, there's also things like, you know, mixed rice, mixed grain rice. There are also others like quinoa or brown rice, red rice that you can, barley, that you can incorporate into your meals if you are trying to watch your intake of carbohydrates. Okay, now whole grain sources as compared to the refined type, which is your white rice, actually gets digested very slowly into our body. The body then releases the blood sugars gradually into the system. So it is actually very useful for people who are watching their weight, for diabetics, as well as those of you who may have other medical conditions. Okay, so I do encourage you to incorporate a little bit of carbohydrate into your meal so that you are not completely excluding one food group.
Okay, but Sharmila, what if like brown rice makes me constipated? Then how can I include that in my diet?
Okay, so yes, that is a very common question that I get. You know, a lot of people say, hey, the fiber content in brown rice is too high and, you know, it causes me to get constipated. What do I do? Okay, so one thing to share with you is, yes, brown rice does have a higher fiber content because you're using the whole grain itself with the bran, the endosperm, and the germ. Okay, so what can you do is soak your rice before you cook it for 15 to 20 minutes if you are solely having just brown rice. Or if you want to increase your intake of whole grains itself, you just need to add a handful of brown rice to your regular white rice that you are having so that you boost your fiber content but not loading too much on your bowels. Okay, and one more thing is to try and incorporate and hydrate yourself. So try and have more water during meal times when you are consuming things like brown rice. Okay, because fiber also from your fruits and vegetables is going to cause you to become constipated if you do not keep yourself well hydrated. Okay, so I hope that helps. All right, soaking or just adding a little bit of brown rice to your white rice, as well as hydrating yourself by consuming more water, helps you in this problem of constipation.
Especially if you're just starting out, right? Eating whole grain, you might not taste as nice. So it's easier to put it in like bit by bit.
Yes, correct. Okay, always start slow, go slow. There's no need to rush and switch completely because you know, it may have certain effects on your body and you know yourself best. Okay, so start slow, go slow.
Then the other question is, if I'm drinking too much water, it says, the question is, drinking water disturbs my sleep. How can I stay hydrated? Maybe I'll just share a bit on that. So it depends on the time and the quantity of water you're drinking, right? So obviously, as you age, our sleep gets affected. Okay, your bladder isn't as strong,
yeah,
right? And then you may be disrupted. Your sleep might be disrupted because of frequent visits to the toilet. So one thing is to drink drink more water from the start of the day and then slowly taper towards the end, right? I think one trick was maybe around 10 p.m. After 10 p.m. if you can taper your fluids, that would be great. But I know as Singaporeans sometimes, right, we at like maybe 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. realize, oh, today I haven't been drinking enough. Yeah, maybe I should like start drinking now.
Yes, and then we chuck down all the water that it's not been having. Yeah, that is a common habit, and I do hope, you know, if you have issues, like for example myself, I do find myself visiting the toilet more frequently if I'm drinking closer to nighttime. Okay, so as I'm having my dinner, I do try and consume lesser fluids, but in the morning and in the afternoons, I do try and make sure I have had about 3 to 4 water bottles worth of water throughout the day to keep myself hydrated, especially after my exercises.
Yeah. So one tip is to make sure you have water bottle or a cup
next to you,
right?
So that it encourages you to drink water.
Yep. And remember, the fluid also comes from maybe the soup that you drink for dinner, right? So just be cautious about that. What other questions do we have?
Okay, so someone has asked, my breakfast consists of 1 small bowl of rolled oats, 10 pieces of walnuts and almonds, a piece of wholemeal bread, and an apple. Is this a nutritious enough breakfast? Wow, this is a power breakfast. Okay, you do include things like your whole grains, things like your rolled oats and your wholemeal bread. So that's good. You are also including fiber. Yeah, so that gives you your fiber. Oh, and also your apple, that gives you your fiber. Your walnuts and your almonds, okay, that's your protein sources. So yes, you are trying to incorporate all the different food groups into your meal for breakfast itself. That's good. You may want to then look into how are you feeling after your breakfast. Okay, so if let's say this breakfast is to fuel you for a longer period of time until lunch, then yes, it's going to help you. My suggestion will be to keep that apple off to a later time. Okay, so let's say you have already had your oats, your walnuts, and the bread. You can keep that apple to a much later time, say maybe 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning, so that it staggers the amount of fiber that you're having as well as the amount of energy that you're getting in the morning.
Next question is very interesting. How about artificial meat?
Okay.
Any advice on that, Sharmila?
All right. So I think when we talk about artificial meat, we're talking about things like mock meat, which is a sauce, not a good sauce, a sauce that some vegetarians do include in their diet. Now, my tip to you is whenever you are using artificial meat, because it is processed, you do have to take note of two different things. You do have to take note of the sodium content. Okay, so things like your sausage, your luncheon meat, these may have higher sodium content. And also, secondly, is things like your preservatives and your additives. Okay, they may contain higher preservatives and additives because they are artificial meat and need to then also be kept for a longer period of time on the shelves. That's the reason why they may contain a bit more additives. Okay, for sodium, it is easier to tackle because you can then taste your food as you go and add lesser salt to balance out the sodium in your food. Okay, so as Singaporeans, we do love our food very tasty, and salt, everything tastes better with salt, right? So we are always very light-handed with our salt. But when you're using artificial meat, please taste your food and always add salt last. Okay, that's my advice to you for artificial meat.
Okay, next question. How much water should one take in a day? Is there a minimum, maximum? Our advice would be 6 to 8 cups of water, and that could be around maybe 2 liters. Okay, 2 liters. So if you have a 1 liter water bottle, right, it can just be easily, I need to finish this 1 liter water bottle by lunch, fill it up, and then finish the other bottle by dinner, right? So that's another tip. The other way to find out how much water you should be taking is to look at your urine color, right?
Yes.
Because it depends. Maybe you're sweating a lot, maybe you're exercising a lot, you might need more water than another person, right? So what color should our urine be? What should we aim for?
Okay, so always aim for pale colored, colorless fluids when you are leaving the toilet. Okay, so that is a good gauge. If you realize, that when you are going to the toilet to pass urine, you realize it is frothy, it is dark colored, then you do want to be more mindful and more careful to include more fluids in your body and also keep yourself more hydrated. Okay, do take note also when we mention fluids, right? The 6 to 8 glasses can, like Christabelle mentioned, incorporate things like your coffee or your tea or your soup that you may have throughout the day, right?
Yep.
Okay. Next, is it true that too much fruits will increase sugar level? Okay, now this is another question that comes up. Okay, when we talk about fruits and sugar, naturally, fruits contain natural sugars. So we try not to mix it up with added sugar that you get from things like, your carbonated beverages, your fruit juices. Okay, so we try not to mix it up. Now, if you are doing homemade juices, then you're not adding in any added sugar. But fruit juice that you buy readily off the market does have some added sugar added into it during the process of making this fruit juice. So just be more mindful, okay? Look for no added sugar juices, or try and go for the real thing, the fruits itself. That's one way that you can try and control your sugar intake, okay? So just a quick tip, don't mix up the sugar that you're getting from your fruits with added sugar. Okay, fruits contain natural sugars, so try and keep to 1 to 2 fruits per day.
But even if you're doing it at home, right? Even if you are juicing your fruits, we will still recommend you to go for whole fruits, right? Because like we mentioned about the fiber content, right? In a whole fruit is much higher than in your juice. Yep. So you're breaking down, you know, as you juice your fruit, you're going to break down all those fiber in that fruit. So like the question asked, does it increase my sugar level? So eating a whole fruit will increase the sugar level slower than drinking a cup of juice apple, right?
Yeah, correct. Okay, because when you are juicing the apple, you are already breaking down what your body is supposed to do, right? So the juice goes directly into the system, the body is able to digest it much faster. So yes, the blood sugar release is going to also be higher as compared to, you know, when you have eaten a particular fruit. It takes time to go down to your stomach. The digestive juices need to work on it and then slowly release it, right? So all that is going to take time, and that's what we want. Okay, we want a slow, gradual release of sugar into your bloodstream when you have eaten a fruit. Okay, let's move on. Is it unhealthy to drink water, especially cold water, after a meal? Does it affect digestion? Okay, so in terms of nutrition itself, it doesn't matter whether you are taking hot water or cold water. I think this is a more Asian myth, you know, where we compare our hot and our cold water and, you know, lead it to some certain effects that it has on your body. I think these are more personal preferences. In terms of nutrition, so long as you're drinking water that's good, be it ice water or cold water or warm water, doesn't really matter. Okay?
Next question is, any food to cure
hip injury? Wow, okay. So I do know of superfoods, but I don't know any food that actually cures injuries, okay? So we don't really eat certain food to cure certain injuries. Now, we do want you to maintain good nutrition to help you recover faster. So to do that, we need you to try and incorporate more proteins. Okay, that's the first thing, because they are your building blocks. They help with the repair processes that are happening in your body. However, that being said, they are not one quick fix for your injury. Your injury needs intervention. If you do realize that it is a hip injury and you have not seen a doctor, please go and consult yourself for the injury, and the doctor is going to then help you. And yeah, try and have, you know, a well-balanced meal to help aid your recovery. Okay, and I hope you have a speedy recovery.
Yeah. So for that one, physical activity is most important for you to go and maybe do some rehab, and then obviously supplement it with good nutrition to help you to recover well. Okay?
Yeah.
Next question is, I think we did mention it, right? So if you have difficulty chewing meat, then what can we eat to make sure we have sufficient protein for someone who is even up to 80 years old?
Yes, okay. So if your dad is having, or anybody in your family is having chewing difficulties, try and look out for what type of you know, texture is good for them. Okay, so like I mentioned, things like tofu, right? Your silken tofu melts in your mouth almost. That is a good protein that you can have for your dad. Okay, or minced meat, minced fish, minced chicken is another good source for you to try and incorporate into your meals for your dad. Now, if let's say he is not able to chew food or even swallow, if it is something to do with him having difficulties swallowing, then you will need to consider pureed food. Okay, so you may even need to cook your chicken and then puree it down before you are adding it to his meals. Okay, so these are ways that we can adapt and adjust to different chewing difficulties or even swallowing needs. All right, so you do need to go and look back into, how much is he able to tolerate and what kind of textures. Okay, so for some people who may have swallowing difficulties, giving them too liquid a food may also not be advisable. So it needs to be a pureed consistency. Again, if let's say they have someone who has given them some medical advice, then do follow that advice. If not, try on your own, to break down the food and then see what works best. So go slow with that. All right.
We're coming almost to the end, so let's just finish up. Last few questions. What do you think of overnight oats?
Overnight oats are a great recommendation. Do make sure that it is rolled oats that you are soaking overnight. You can use either yogurt or milk as your dairy base to soak your overnight oats. Do include things like nuts or chia seeds, okay, to help incorporate more fiber for your rolled oats. Okay, can replace veggies and fruits intake by vitamin C. Okay,
some supplement already, right?
Yeah. Okay, we try and recommend whole foods wherever possible. If let's say you are not able to have whole fruits, then our last resort will be supplementation. However, fruits and vegetables will not be able to, vitamin C will not be able to replace your fruits and vegetables because fruits and vegetables give you more than just vitamin C. Okay, different colored fruits and vegetables give you different types of vitamins. We do have fat-soluble and water-soluble vitamins that you do need for various purposes in your body. Okay, so again, go for whole fruits wherever possible. If let's say you need a boost for your immune system, then a vitamin C drink would do fine, but it doesn't take away the need for fruits and vegetables in your diet.
What is the best time to drink cold pressed fruit and vegetable juice? Is it similar to the water question?
Yes and no. Okay, so when we talk about cold pressed juices or any juices for that matter, if you do want to get the most of the juice, do consume them immediately. That's the best. Okay, so immediately after you have juiced it, you do want to consume it because storing it and then having it for later is going to expose some of the water-soluble vitamins in that particular fruit juice, and you're not going to be able to get that vitamin sources as much as when you consume it immediately. Okay, but again, yes, I think we do want to let you know that fruits are best consumed whole because they give you a lot more nutrients and are a lot more better absorbed by your body than just juices. Okay?
Okay, I think it's the last question. Taking everything in moderation is a good rule of fruits.
A good rule of thumb. I think you have helped.
Sorry.
Okay, I think that question actually helps to sum up everything that we're trying to tell you for today. Okay, so everything in moderation. Okay, something too good of something is also not good for the body, right? So we do want to consume everything in moderation, even your snacks. Okay, I mean, come on, let's be honest. Even I like to snack, right? And it is normal to snack, on your ice cream, on your potato chips, on and off. We're not saying that you can't have it, but remember, small portions of anything that's not so healthy for your body and everything in moderation to help you get a well-balanced diet.
Yep, so the two things I'll leave with you is everything in moderation and also eating mindfully. I think after today's session, you have learned a lot more about the different food groups, right? And now being more mindful of what you put into your body will really put you in a better place to eat better, okay? And we thank you so much, for joining us in today's session. I hope it has been very beneficial for you. If you have found it useful, do like this video, do share this video with your family and your friends, so that they can also pick up these useful tips at their own pace and their own convenience. All right. And today, from Active Health, you've learned about nutrition. But if you wish to learn other domains like maybe physical activity, your sleep, do go sign up for our e-workshops via the link over there you see on your screen. All right. go.ga/activehealth-e-workshops. Or you can simply visit activehealth.sg to find out more about us. All right. You also see another website there, nsa.org.sg, if you want to learn more, right, other than just health. There's a lot more opportunities out there for you to be engaged, okay? So, otherwise, we'll leave you with our tagline, better beats perfect. All right, so put into practice the active health habits that you've committed just now and try it in the next 24 hours and be consistent in it. If you mess up today or tomorrow, don't worry, just continue the next day. Slowly take these small actions and you will find yourself closer to your health and also fitness goals. So we thank you so much for your time. Stay active, stay safe,